We are the Fashion Daddies.
Okay, Fashion Daddy Nick. Vogue World happened last night.
Yes, it did.
Yes, it was a big event here in Hollywood.
Yes, on a Sunday night.
Yes.
Would you like to know what it was?
I would like to know. I would like to know. Tell us, give our listeners an explanation of what Vogue World is.
For those of you who do not know, even though you may be into fashion, Vogue World Hollywood, this was the Hollywood edition, it was an event celebrating the synergy between fashion and film. And it was held in Los Angeles at Paramount Studios. It featured a runway show with costumes inspired by iconic movie characters and performances from like Doja Cat, Gracie Abrams, and it was a celebration between the rich history between Hollywood cinema, the costume designers, and fashion.
Okay, and it's different every year, right? Because wasn't last year Paris?
Yes. Last year was Paris. This is actually the fourth annual one. And so it just features a theme. Like I think the Paris one was for the Paris Olympics. So there was a lot of athletic inspiration, like, sports, fashion, and how sports and fashion and high fashion blend together. So this was more about just celebrating the influence of Hollywood with fashion and vice versa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that being said, we did watch it.
Yes, we did.
And it was a hot mess.
Oh, David. You're just going right to it.
It was a hot mess. Oh. I mean, I don't think I'm the only one that thought that, am I?
Well, okay, let me just tell you that this morning when I woke up, I went on the internets to see if some people were feeling the way that you are feeling, and possibly myself.
And I didn't even tell you that last
night.
No,
you didn't. No, you didn't. We just watched it and we kept our mouths shut. I guess we were saving it for this. But the consensus, especially from, if you read the I don't know what you call it when you go on YouTube and it's the comments.
The streaming comments.
Yeah, the streaming comments. Everybody was gagging over a K-pop star from BTS, V, who was a guest sitting in the audience at the show. It's like nobody was talking about the designs, the designers, even Anna Wintour or the celebrities, the costume. No, it was all about V. Everybody was like, oh my God. This was the first time that a K-pop star was at Vogue World, and personally invited by Anna Wintour. But I guess this is why there were 7 million gazillion views on YouTube of the show. I wish it was because of the fashion, but them K-pop stars, they be crazy.
They bring in an audience, and they are now invited to every runway show.
Every show. You watch all the fashion weeks, Paris Fashion Weeks, and Milan, and it's just one K-pop star. They also include some Thai stars after another. And I mean, look, there you go. It pays off.
And they just flew, I don't know who it was, that had a schedule that only had like 12 hours or something. So they sent a private jet to pick him up.
That's right. They
for
did.
The Chanel show, I
believe it was the Chanel show. Yeah, once again, they chartered a private jet for that K-pop star to fly in and then fly back out because it's that much worth it for them. I don't know how many, 16-year-old K-pop star fans are buying $12,000 Chanel purses, or maybe it's the lipsticks.
Yeah,
as I always like to say, that's what fuels those big luxury brands. Here's some news flash. It ain't the purses, it ain't the fashion, it's the perfumes, the lipsticks, and that.
Chanel number 5. Well, back to the show.
Yes. Oh, that's right.
I think the reason I mean, one of the reasons I was a little triggered is it reminded me of, so Nick and I were chairs of a fashion program at a fashion school here in Los Angeles, and they had these big cheesy shows.
Yeah.
Every year.
Over the top.
And it was always kind of, a mix of costume and fashion.
Yeah.
It was all very like presentational.
Oh my gosh.
Fun and kicking and dancing. And they were so cheesy. And so
it was a throwback.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was more just a presentational. It wasn't true fashion. So that's kind of why it surprised me that Vogue World did it in this manner, because it just did seem kind of cheesy. And just, just cheesy.
Tell us how you really feel. Okay, can I give you my take?
Yeah.
Okay, I was confused. I felt it looked a little bit disconnected, I have to say, and it didn't really focus on the fashion.
Right.
And the way that it was shot, it was just like one after another, after another, after another. And I know fashion shows are shot like that, but you really didn't get a grasp of each look. I remember at one point I saw the back of what I thought was Olivia Newton-John, and I'm like, where was she? And then the next morning, today, I woke up and I'm like, oh, Madonna from Desperately Seeking Susan was also in the mix. Not the real Madonna, of course. So it's like those are the things that I felt that was just a little confusing to me.
Yeah.
And then I just didn't excite me in the way that, okay, I'm just going to give an example. The Yves Saint Laurent show at the Stade de France in 1998, and it was the World Cup. Look it up, kids. It's on YouTube. And it was for his 40th anniversary, and it was the final, the World Cup final between Brazil and France. I think it was like 300 of his looks playing to Ravel's Bolero for like 15 minutes, and it was that.
Yeah.
And that just brought me over the edge, showing every Yves Saint Laurent. Now, I understand this is a retrospective, but also it was just magical.
Well, it was all fashion, and I think this was, multiple things. It was a multitude of things. Yeah. It was fashion, it was film, it was celebrities walking the red carpet. So there were so many things. So tell us so they divided it up into 7 acts.
Correct.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 7 acts.
7 acts, and each act had a theme.
Right.
And each act also had a costume designer that was involved with each act, as well as a creative director from a fashion brand that was involved with each act. I don't know if they were involved in editing, picking, the designs, the fashion designs element of it, because also in each act there were costumes. Some were recreated and some were original costumes from iconic films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we're just going to go through the acts and we're going to just say the highlights because, okay, so I just bashed it. I just said it was super cheesy, which I did think it was. But then, like Nick said, when I looked at it this morning and I looked at it in photo format, you saw the work that went into this, and there was a lot of work. I think there was some comment that said the stylist, and I can't remember his name, but shout out to him.
Yeah,
he deserved a Medal of Honor.
Yes,
for being able to style all these fashion pieces, all these costume pieces. I'm sure he had to deal with all the, costume designers and fashion designers.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. So I appreciated all the work that went into it because a lot of work went into it.
Yeah, we know all the work that goes in, and that's kind of the point.
Yeah,
Daddy David,
yes.
Paul. That when I finished looking at the show, I was like, that was a mess, and I was also, as a fashion lover, I was sort of disappointed.
Yeah.
But then when I woke up and I went to Vogue.com, kudos to them. They showed me the show better than me viewing, if this makes any sense, the actual live show. Because if you go on Vogue.com, they have a whole explanation. It literally says, an explanation of each look and why and the how and when. And I sat there, and after I looked at that, I enjoyed the show much better.
Yeah, it gave context to it.
Yeah, but I don't think a show like that should need that much context.
It shouldn't.
Like I said, the Yves Saint Laurent show, you didn't need no context, honey. It took you to a level that you ain't never gonna go back to.
Okay, so let's start with Act 1, which was what?
Oh, okay. So now the positive, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna pick what we liked in each act.
Right. Okay. All right. So Act 1 was Hollywood glamour, and the costume designer was Catherine Martin, and the creative director was Miuccia Prada.
Okay.
All right. So it's Hollywood glamour.
Uh-huh.
So we're talking about Rita Hayworth in Gilda, 1946, The Great Gatsby, the time period we're discussing the 1920s to the 1960s. So think of that iconic era that we all think of Hollywood glamour. All right. So who was your favorite look in that act?
Oh, me first.
Yeah, you first. Go.
Okay. Well, no, you have to go first.
Oh, okay. Then I'll go first.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because yours will lead into mine, because I already know what yours is.
Okay, that is true. All right. My pick for this look, and there were some good ones if you go back to the Vogue.com, not look at the show, was Nicole Kidman. She basically started the show with Baz Luhrmann, and she was dressed in Chanel by Mathieu Blasi, the new creative director. Beautiful. I mean, the iconic image of what you think of Hollywood glamour.
Yeah.
Just like that, that image of Rita Hayworth in the film Gilda. Black crepe silk strapless fitted gown. Beautiful. It was beautifully draped. It had rosettes at the waist and then one at the bust. It was a really fun and interesting take on, Rita Hayworth and an homage to that in Gilda, and the way that her hair was styled and how she sort of vamped it up the same way that Rita Hayworth did in the film. I thought that was a great start.
So my pick was following Nicole was Kendall Jenner. And there's a lot of Kendall Jenner, backlash from people all the time. But she looked stunning. Yeah. And what was exciting about it was she was wearing a costume from Moulin Rouge.
An actual costume.
Costume from Moulin Rouge that starred Nicole Kidman. So it went Nicole Kidman, then Kendall Jenner, and the whole segment was Catherine Martin, who was the costume designer for Moulin Rouge.
Yes, and the costume designer for this act.
Right. So it all worked. It was beautiful. It was a silver beaded corset that was just snatched and tight and made this tiny little waist. It had sort of like tuxedo lapels in the back, and most of you, if you loved Moulin Rouge, will remember it because it was so iconic, and there were so many photos of Nicole Kidman wearing it with the top hat.
With the black top hat.
Kendall had the black top hat, and it looked great.
Yeah. Okay. See, we're being positive here.
Be positive.
All right. Act 2.
Yes.
Act 2 was called The Renegades.
Yeah.
And these are sort of. I mean, how would you describe a renegade? How would be a good description?
Well, I mean, they kind of helped us out because what they threw in, besides some of this fashion, were some of the iconic renegades from film, which was like Marlon Brando.
Right.
And who else was there?
Well, Edward Scissorhands. He was a renegade. Charlie Chaplin. The Matrix, the film. You have a renegade there. Shaft. You get the image. Okay, so my favorite from this group. Now, mine is a fashion image again, and it was a combination of Rick Owens and Ferragamo. So if you saw it on the model, it was a red coat. That was the base of it, but it was feathers, and it was a wrap coat. Gorgeous, made of feathers, which you couldn't even really tell while she was walking down the runway. And then she was literally wrapped with tubes. And it was a Rick Owens piece, I would say.
Yeah.
And it was, the tubes were wrapped in sequins, black sequins. So it was the black tube sequins over a red feathered wrap coat. Such a look. It was to me, it was a modern interpretation of being a renegade.
Yeah.
You know, you have your traditional coat, the traditional coat, and then the sort of almost bondage-like detail. That, to me, really exemplified the new renegade.
Okay, so mine is a costume, and it is Edward Scissorhands.
Oh.
And it wasn't the actual costume Johnny Depp wore, but Colleen Atwood actually recreated the costume, which is amazing because when you see the image of it, it is so detailed.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Colleen Atwood is a genius.
Yeah.
She's won multiple Academy Awards.
Costume diva.
Everything she does is perfection.
We've met her.
Yes. And so it's a leather tunic with leather pants and the boots, the whole thing, but wrapped in all the belts around the neck. And then the model who wore it, what was her name?
Anouk Yai.
Yeah.
One of the super top models of the moment.
So
acted it out like the rent was due. Came out and did the whole thing with the scissors, and she literally, I think she went up to Nicole Kidman and Baz Luhrmann, or Anna Wintour, and like tried to clip them. That was the thing. So then, of course, besides the whole look, she had the scissor hands, which only Colleen Atwood could recreate so perfectly. Right. So that was great. That was a really good segment. I will say the Renegades. I like the Renegade segment. Okay, even though we're just to Act 2, it doesn't sound like this was such a hot mess.
Well, when you edit it down and not look at all the cheesiness that was all around
and how it went so fast that like I said, there were so many looks that were missed.
Yeah.
It was sort of like, let's just get this over and done with, and how fun, and no.
So the point is, you don't have to watch it, just listen to this, and then you'll feel like it was a great fashion show.
Yeah, there you go. And then maybe have Vogue.com's, description of it as you listen to us. Act 3.
Yes.
Historical heroines.
Okay.
So this is kind of easy to describe in terms of like, what do we mean by historical elements? So we're talking about Marie Antoinette, that kind of historical element, things with a little more of a historical period nature, per se. So here's my pick, another fashion pick. And I would say that the shape, the silhouette of what I've picked is inspired by historical natures, i.e. the type of gowns that you would have seen during the Marie Antoinette, French court. So my pick was this pink Balenciaga haute couture ball gown from Demna Gvasalia. And it's pink silk taffeta, one-shoulder ball gown with a black drape, and on the runway images, it was, I believe, modeled by a man, a male model, and it looked stunning. And I love that they sort of took the Marie Antoinette gown and then bumped it up. I'm going to say a David term. He loves the term bump it up, bump it up. And it was just like Uber, like to an Uber level. And what made it, and it was oversized. So when you think ball gown, I mean, when you see this pink one-shoulder ball gown, I mean, it looked like it had those actual period crinolines underneath, actually. But it was wrinkled. Purposely. The silk taffeta was wrinkled, crinkled, whatever. And that, to me, made it new, made it fresh, made it modern.
Okay, so my pick again was a costume. It was Julia Gardner in a Milena Canonero costume from Marie Antoinette.
Oh, Sofia Coppola's film.
Yes.
Right? With Kirsten Dunst?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
And Milena won an Academy Award for this film.
Bravo.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. So this was obviously a costume. So it was a traditional 18th century Marie Antoinette costume. Beautiful cream silk with all the ruffles, the way you would imagine.
Yeah.
But the amazing thing is it had a pink petticoat. So it had a little twist in it. And when she walked down the runway, you could see the pink petticoat sort of like peeking through.
Yeah, it was kind of whimsical. Yeah. And what made it new is that it wasn't underfilled with the period paniers.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. It was
just
light.
It just flew there,
Flowed
Yeah, it
along.
flowed.
And Julia Gardner is so beautiful and looks so period.
Right. And on top of it, you have to think that Julia Gardner also wore, had the Marie Antoinette wig, or her hair was done to look as such.
Yeah.
The makeup, the pale makeup. I believe also that she had some Manolo Blahnik specially made for this event last night, that she was wearing kind of those period pumps for the event as well. They weren't the ones that Kristen Dunst wore as well. So it looked period. But all right, are we on to the next?
We're on to the next.
Okay, the next act, which is Act 4, there's 7, was the Summer of Love.
Okay.
And this time period is 60s, 70s. Just think of it. Summer of Love. Hippy dippy. We're talking Annie Hall, West Side Story also. Not hippies, but, Summer of Love. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which was a film that Ariane Phillips costume designed. And she was the costume designer for this segment. And Mark Jacobs was the creative director of this particular segment. Okay?
Okay.
With that being said, my favorite drum roll of this section was an actual also fashion look. And this was Etro, which is the Italian brand. I have about 33 scarves and ties and a couple shirts that actually I just wore one of the shirts in Europe and I loved it. Etro is famous for its prints, the paisley prints. It's very Italian. Just think of hanging out in Marbella or Capri. Anyway, you get the hint. So this look was very Etro look. It's a printed gown dress. And it had a black base with green, yellow, orange. It had flowers, other graphic motifs, and there were sequins like interspersed in the print.
Ooh.
And then kind of cascading ruffles. Think of one of those like bias cut dresses.
Yeah, with
from
ruffles
the 90s.
in the bias seams?
Yes, in the bias seams, with the ruffles in the bias seams. And then on top of that, it looked like a modern hippie dress, but very chic and sleek. And then she wore it also with an Etro suede vest, a French suede vest with silver, I would say.
Studs?
Yeah, like studs. That's it. That's the word. So the French suede vest, the printed bias cut dress, it's kind of a slip dress, I would say. It was a new way of giving that hippy dippy look, summer of romance look, but summer of 2025.
Yeah. And Etro always has kind of, I feel a little hippy dippy.
Yes, yeah, they do.
Their colors, they do great
and
colors.
The prints especially, the paisley hippie trip,
right,
kind of
the paisley situation.
Those.
Okay, so mine was a costume from Ariana Phillips.
You're consistent.
Yes, I'm being consistent. That Margot Robbie wore in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh.
And it was a mustard yellow faux python.
You have to emphasize the faux.
The faux. The snakeskin, yes.
Python snakeskin, I believe, is an endangered species, right?
Yes, yeah. So hers was faux, and it was a coat, and it was a recreation of an Aussie Clark coat that Sharon Tate, who Margot Robbie was portraying in the film. It was an Aussie Clark coat that Sharon Tate wore to the premiere of Rosemary's Baby.
Ooh.
So Ariana wanted to really capture. Sharon Tate was gorgeous.
Yeah.
She was so pretty, but she just not only wanted to capture how beautiful she was, but how she was really the it girl,
of that time.
The way she looked. So that was great. And then it was one of the times where Marc Jacobs then sent a look down the runway that was almost identical.
Almost identical.
That was in one of his collections.
Right. It was a 2025 version of it.
So, and they both looked amazing.
So those two. So you had two favorites.
Yes, I cheated.
Okay. All right. So we've got Act 5, and Act 5 was called Avant-Garde. And you would think by the name of it, you would think it would just all be a bunch of crazy avant-garde.
Yeah.
Comme des garçons, you can never wear this in real life, kind of things. But it wasn't. And I think that they used the word avant-garde in terms of movies that also had mixed periods, where it started in one period, went to another. So it's like you could use the word avant-garde in different ways.
That's interesting, the way they interpreted it. Very costume designer interpretation.
Yes,
by Sandy
yes.
Powell.
So,
yes.
When I'm going to tell you my picks, they're not avant-garde at all, actually. But they went with the sort of gender bending.
Yes.
Did I say vending?
No, you said bearing. Like
bearing gender.
Bear their gender.
Well, I don't know about
maybe
that.
a little of that too.
Yeah, that's
true. But gender bending.
Thank
so
you.
Mean bending of
yes, like male or female or who cares?
Fluid.
Gender fluid. Okay. Thank you, Daddy David.
Yes.
Mine was, I loved when some of the looks were mixed in from Gucci and Valentino, from Alessandro Michele, who is in fact the creative director of this avant-garde section. Sandy Powell, iconic costume designer. Sandy Powell, she was the costume designer who was took the role of the avant-garde section, and I know David's going to tell you something about that. But that's what I love, the Gucci and the Valentino looks. The unusual mix of colors, the acid green with purple, with the metallics, playing with the different cultures. If you look at a couple of those looks, they give you sort of Asiana mixed with the Middle East, mixing, the Far East. Total David Bowie.
Yeah.
Those are the looks that I loved. These fashion looks that you could see if there was a David Bowie type of celebrity now, they would be wearing this. Yeah.
Okay, so mine is Hunter Schafer. I actually did two again.
Oh,
sorry. Hunter Schafer in a costume by Sandy Powell from Orlando, which is one of her iconic films. She is, again, they chose Costume Diva after Costume Diva.
Yeah, they did.
Of course.
They did.
You're going to bring out your best of your best. They brought out the best fashion designers. They brought out the best costume designers. Sandy Powell is also an Academy Award winner.
Can you imagine if Vogue Anna Wintour did not choose these particular divas, icons of costume design? Trust me, you're going to hear it now. They would hear from it.
Yes.
And when I say they, I mean the Vogue people would hear from, excuse me, did you forget to call me? Did I miss your call?
And the thing is if they were to do it again, there could be a whole nother roster, because I can think of five other names.
This is true.
Of people sitting on the couch going, hello.
This is true.
Where was my call?
No, we're not going to say names.
But Hunter Schafer was wearing a costume, an actual costume from Orlando, the film, Tilda Swinton's costume. And it was perfect because the film is about a character that transforms from a nobleman to a lady. Okay, and so
gender fluid
goes along with it. And the film jumps all the way from the Elizabethan era to the 1990s.
So this is what they meant by avant-garde, y'all.
That's avant-garde. So she is known, Sandy Powell is known for sort of taking a period and twisting it a bit.
Right.
So it's never a direct interpretation, and that's what this costume was. It was sort of a chocolate brown velvet, the traditional doublet, along with the pantaloons, with the amazing color of sort of olive color tights. But then it had all these petal details that were all sort of green and gold, and they were all metallic. So it was really gorgeous.
And what made it now, and this is what Sandy Powell is amazing at, is that while the silhouette, and if you just quickly take a picture of it, it looked period. But then, if you looked again, you're like, wait, where's the corseting? Where is all the seaming? Even in a male period ensemble, including a doublet and all that there is a lot going on. But here, there wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't there.
Exactly.
Right.
That's exactly right.
All right.
Okay.
Next up, we're almost there, guys. Sorry. Thank you for keeping up. Act 6. Okay, this was a big act. The Afrofuturism act. And this was Ruth E. Carter, costume design, Academy Award-winning costume designer. She was part of this. Of course, she was. And Olivier Rousteing, the designer, creative director for Balmain, was the fashion person creative in this section. Now, this, of course, pays homage to Black Panther, Malcolm X, the theme again, Afrofuturism. My favorite looks from this, and it was looks, were actually how the intro to the segment, and it was the dancers that came out in custom balmain. And the dancers in the opening act, they came out, they wore silver gunmetal jumpsuits created by Balmain for the event, especially the printed jumpsuits. If you see them, they've got a print in them, kind of a lot of dots and stripes, futuristic. They were worn by the female dancers. They featured striped necks and armbands, to look like the jewelry that you would see on Black Panther and Wakanda Forever. The men, they wore a matching top with the same kind of print, silver gunmetal print, but they had drop crotch jersey pants, which is very Balmain, very Olivier Rousteing. They looked hot.
Yeah.
Can I just say that? Imposing. And when they came out, they came running down and dancing. They were just like a fabulous fashion, Afrofuturistic army.
I think Balmain, there were a lot of Balmain looks in that one, which he was the creative director for.
Right.
They were all perfect.
Yes.
His style is so perfectly suited for that category. So there was a lot of good ones there. But my pick was Angela Bassett.
Oh.
So there were a lot of celebrities that walked the red carpet last night.
You mean walk the red carpet or did the event? Walk the event.
Walked the runway.
Yeah, walked the runway.
Walked the red carpet.
No, yeah.
Walked the runway.
Right.
They had quite a few. Jeff Goldblum, we already mentioned a few of the other
He wore
ones.
Gucci.
He wore Gucci.
Take a look. Go look at it. Go look at the images. Not the YouTube video. And he wore the Gucci from the Twinning show.
Yeah, so it's just like, that was part of the whole cheesy factor is when sort of actors, celebrities walk a runway. It's a lot of like waving and like, hi, and oh, there's my friend, and ooh, and because, I think it's because they're nervous,
Yeah.
It's not like they're not going to do that classic model runway walk with the serious face. I mean, some try, but.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
It reminded me, a couple things, but it reminded me of like a Love Boat episode. The Love Boat episodes, they would sometimes feature fashion shows, and it was like Bob Mackie, and then they would have like the actors who were on Love Boat like model them, and just like you said, they would come out and they'd be like like this, it was like that. Or the other thing is, I think during the late 70s or 80s on TV guys, they would have these big, like a night of 100 stars. And so then you would have like Lonnie Anderson come out in a dress by Donna Karan, and she'd be like, hey.
Yes.
That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah. That is
that good?
Very accurate. Yes, hence the cheesy part. But Angela Bassett was one of the ones that I think made it work, mainly because she was wearing her actual costume from Wakanda Forever. Sorry,
by Ruth E. Carter.
Yes,
correct.
And I put my glasses on because I want to get it right, because she was wearing the gown. It was a purple gown, which is of course the color of royalty,
right?
And it featured a halter silhouette with a sculptural gold collar. Her crown was 3D printed, which was really cool because Ruth E. Carter added a bunch of modern touches, of course, to this world.
Yeah. She wore this purple gown, if you remember Wakanda Forever, like when Queen, is it Ramunda? She went to the UN in Geneva, and she appeared, and so she wanted to appear imposing and like a queen.
Yeah.
I remember in this particular fashion costume exhibition at the school that we used to work at, we actually had this costume and the headdress. And on opening night gala, we actually had Ruth E. Carter, and she was being interviewed, and I remember just sort of eavesdropping to get all the inside costume dish. It was great. Okay, we're finally down to our last act, and this was Act 7, and the title of this act was New World. So we're talking the future. And we're talking Dune, The Revenant. Just think about that. Put that into your brain. And I have to say, not just because it was the last segment, I was like, okay, let's just get this over and done with when I was watching it. But I really loved it because it was Dune. I love the fashions, a lot of jersey. To me, it was my favorite segment of the entire event.
And the collaboration was with Jacqueline West, who was
right?
the costume designer of Dune.
Of Dune, correct. Yes. So Jacqueline West and Peter Mueller or Moulier of Maison Alaya, Azadine Alaya, was involved with it as the creative director. And again, like I said, it was my favorite. And speaking of favorite, my favorite of that act was in fact it was a model, an Italian model, Bianca Balti, and she wore an actual costume from Dune. And so she portrayed Lady Jessica. The costume is, if you remember the movie, if you watch the movie, it's when she arrives at the desert planet Arrakis, and she has her handmaidens from the Bene Gesserit sisterhood trailing behind her. It was such, oh my gosh. Again, we had this very costume at the costume exhibition, up close and personal. Beautiful mustard yellow silk crepe gown. It was just stunning. It looked like couture. And then she had this hood, which was all sequins, like a gold veil with the sleeves made of chains and beads. There was a split train, which, followed her as she came out of the ship. And the split train followed the model as she was, on the street of Paramount Studios with two other models holding her train, like the Bene Gesserit handmaidens. But that whole look, that was just to me like an entrance for sure.
You died when that was in the
movie. I did.
It makes sense that it's your favorite.
I put my popcorn down for that one.
My one thing that was driving me crazy, I just heard you mention, was the dragging of the train, the dress trains.
Yes.
Down the Paramount Studios
as designers, tell the listeners, watchers, why.
Because there's no... they could have mopped that street for 10 days and there would still be dirt. And so those trains were filthy. And... I mean, I can't imagine. These are first of all, they're very expensive gowns, and they're not only that, but they're important. A lot of them are very important.
They're
dresses.
costumes.
Costumes too, but also the fashion going back to these houses. So I know that they have a lot of money to get these things clean, but still, it would be heart-wrenching to get them out of the package and see how dirty those hems were after this event. But anyway, that was just a little side note where it was just driving me crazy every time I saw.
Yeah. You were getting agita. Like you're triggered. We've had our red carpet gowns worn by many celebrities. Yes. And we'll loan them out, and then the next day, the following day, they come back, and I'm always excited. Like, we had the celebrity wear our designs, but David goes right to the bag, unzips it, and goes right to the hem and be like, because it's just ruined. And if it's just ruined,
beaded, all the beads are falling off. It's a mess.
I know, but we get the picture. We get the red carpet picture. Amazing.
Okay, so my favorite closed the show basically. Yeah. And it was a metallic gold gown that was from Maison Margiela. Yeah. And it was completely covered, very fitted. And then on the runway, not all the models, but 90% of them, she had part of that dress covering her face. So it was sort of masked. That was the only thing that I missed about the look. The model wore it where she didn't have it covering her face.
Right.
Now, she probably needed to see. I mean, I guess they were able to see on the runway.
Yeah. Those masks have little openings.
Yeah.
I think.
It just made the whole look when it was fully covered from head to toe, one piece of fabric. But it was beautiful. You got to see the gorgeous model that was wearing it.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was a nice closing of the show.
Okay. Well, there you go.
So there you go.
We wanted to end on a positive, even though we thought the show was a bit of a mess, or David thought it was a hot mess. I just thought it was and yes, it was cheesy in a bit. And I just was mad that it went too fast and I couldn't see everything, And like I said, like there's no reason for me to be like, wait, is that Olivia Newton-John? Like in her "You're the One That I Want" outfit? What? Wait, hold on. Yeah.
But there was plenty to critique, and what would it be if we didn't get to critique?
Of course. And thank you, Vogue.com, for that post. Post-show post. Yeah, the post. Because, like I said, that was more enjoyable.
Yes.
Like seeing that. So, Vogue World Hollywood, that's a wrap.
Okay, so make sure to like, subscribe, and share if you like this Fashion Daddies episode. We're just rolling along.
We sure are.
We're gonna do another ice style.
It's gonna be good.
Yes, cup of China. So
cup of China.
Look out for that.
All right.
Okay.
See you soon.
Bye. Bye.
The Fashion Daddies is created and hosted by David Paul and Nick Varios. It's produced, edited, sound mixed, and scenic designed by David Paul. I'm just here to entertain.